Those who stand on their toes are not steady. Those who rush do not travel far. Those who attempt to outshine others only dim their own light. Laozi, the father of Taoism, reminds us that true growth comes not from constant striving, but from a gentle surrender to life's natural flow. In modern times, people exhaust themselves seeking improvement, knowledge, material gain, and happiness. Yet, many end up feeling more disconnected and unfulfilled. As Taoists observed centuries ago, humans often act in ways that unknowingly harm themselves, constantly pushing against the natural order of things. In striving to change nature, we may only worsen things. Rules, ethics, values, all were created with the intent to benefit humanity. Yet ancient Taoist sages suggest that these rules often complicate our lives, pulling us further away from life's natural rhythm. Why? Because artificial ideals create resistance to the natural flow of life. Attempting to alter what nature intends is like swimming against a current. It's exhausting, and we don't get anywhere. Behind the constantly shifting universe lies an unseen force, which Taoists call the Tao. The Tao is all-encompassing yet elusive. It contains all things and is beyond what our senses can fully comprehend. While it defies understanding, we can still feel the Tao, even though we cannot grasp it completely. Human beings tend to use names, labels, and categories to understand what's around them, but in doing so, they lose sight of the true nature of the universe. As Laozi wrote in the Tao Te Ching, 5 colors blind the eye, 5 tones deafen the ear, 5 flavors dull the taste. When we fixate on rigid structures, we miss the vastness beyond them. The Taoist way teaches us to move beyond such limiting perceptions and to find clarity in simplicity. Many strive to control every aspect of life, setting strict rules and expectations for everything, hoping to create a sense of security and predictability. But this self-imposed control is a trap, for the world is always changing, and what works today may no longer be useful tomorrow. In their desire for structure and fairness, people create large systems of ethics, laws, and rituals that shape a way of life. But ironically, these constraints can become prisons of our own making. Now let's talk about the word trying. Most of us are familiar with the concept that we should simply do rather than try. This philosophy closely relates to a Taoist principle called Wu Wei, which translates to non-action or effortless action. In this state, one becomes the act itself, like a dancer who is so deeply immersed in the dance that they become the dance, or a poet who becomes the poem. This doing without doing does not mean inactivity or idleness, but rather a smooth, unforced way of existing. It is the kind of action that requires no struggle and no strain, only harmony with the natural flow. This notion can feel strange in a culture that praises hard work and effort, but think about how often problems resolve themselves without any action on our part. Often our attempts to take control make things worse, drawing us away from the natural course of events. Laozi suggests that by trying to improve our lives constantly, we might actually be exhausting our bodies and minds. Why do we keep doing this? The answer often lies in our attachment to certain values. For example, we shun poverty and seek wealth and fame. We avoid loneliness and strive for inclusion. This is what the Taoist sages called the folly of attachment. In trying to increase what we value and eliminate what we dislike, we end up in a constant state of conflict, because the two opposites are interconnected. Fame can't exist without obscurity, wealth without poverty, inclusion without solitude. We even try to change nature itself to fit into our own belief systems, but often, these attempts at improvement end up having uncertain outcomes. Let's look at some examples of this struggle. As Taoist scholar Alan Watts pointed out, those who try to do good in society often become the greatest causes of trouble. His observation stems from the notion that people imposing their own ideals of right and wrong on others disrupt the natural flow. One prominent example of this is the ideology of communism, born from a desire for fairness and equality. Yet the measures taken to enforce it often led to rigid and harsh practices. Taoist texts like the Zhuangzi caution against such intervention. In one story, a man named Yan Hui asked Confucius for permission to go to the state of Wei, where he heard the ruler was corrupt. Yan Hui believed he could improve Wei with his knowledge of good governance. But Confucius warned him not to go, not only because the ruler wouldn't listen, but also because people don't appreciate outsiders imposing their beliefs on them. If you do not understand the minds of men, Confucius said, and instead lecture a tyrant on kindness and righteousness, you merely highlight their flaws and make yourself look superior. This leads to division and conflict, creating more tension rather than resolving it. Laozi famously said, "Do you want to control the world and shape it to your will? I don't think it can ever be done. The world is a sacred vessel and cannot be controlled. Attempting to do so will only make things worse. It will slip through your fingers and disappear." Another common struggle is the pursuit of happiness. We chase wealth, fame, power, knowledge, all in the hope of achieving happiness. But ironically, it's these very efforts that keep happiness out of reach. We believe we'll be happy once we reach a certain level of success, have a specific amount of money, or gain a particular status. But according to Taoist wisdom, true happiness does not lie in constant pursuit, but in contentment with what is. As Laozi wrote, "What the world cherishes is wealth, fame, long life, and good reputation. What the world despises is poverty, obscurity, early death, and poor reputation. This is the path of foolishness." True happiness lies not in seeking external gains, but in harmony with the Tao. So how do we apply these ancient teachings in the modern world? Taoists offer several practical steps. Follow the middle path. The Tao is unchanging. Staying centered and rooted keeps us close to our nature, protecting our health and sanity in a rapidly changing world. Embrace the empty mind. According to Taoist practice, by fasting of the heart and letting go of rigid beliefs, we can approach life with openness and allow the universe to reveal itself naturally. It's not about acquiring more knowledge, but about reducing what we think we know. Cultivate non-striving. Only in a state of inner stillness can we truly align with the Tao, where contentment brings genuine joy. This art of Wu Wei, the effortless effort, allows things to unfold without our interference, and paradoxically, much is accomplished. Rather than constantly striving, let us learn to be content with the natural flow, to appreciate the beauty of simplicity, and to trust that the universe moves in harmony with or without our intervention. In this state of doing without doing, we find true fulfillment, and in that fulfillment, we discover the essence of happiness.